Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
If you want to support the podcast, please share, download, review, and give the podcast a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by Deechworks Fuel Systems. Visit deechworks.com for all your fuel system needs. As always, I'm your host, Con Jonter, and on this episode, we're talking about sim racing and some drills. And since I don't own a sim yet, even though TJ convinced my wife I'm allowed to have one, I know it's shameful I don't own one. I need a guest, as always. Joining me, West Coast Lemons racer, author, and from reading his website, he really fits that racer pontificating, navel-gazing club I want to start. He has a whole section of his website labeled thinking, so I'm pretty sure he qualifies for that. Professor at UC Davis, go Aggies. Ian, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So you are related to another prior guest of mine, and he's been telling me that I had to get you on the show, and I had to get you on the show. And I reached out when I was researching. I do research for most of my topics, and your website kept coming up. Excuse me. So what is your website and how did you start it?
Well, the website is called You Suck at Racing, and it started like 10 years ago, maybe. And it started because every time I get into a new hobby, and I have a lot of hobbies, every time I get into a hobby, my way of learning that hobby is to write a book about it. Now, the book isn't necessarily for anybody but me, but like if you ask me, like at one point in time, I was very interested in understanding American Sign Language. So I started writing my own manual on American Sign Language and came up with my own codification in ASCII for it. If I'm into archery or fencing or driving or lock picking or whatever it is, I start writing myself a manual on how to do it. And that's how I teach myself how to do it, as I imagine like I'm teaching somebody else how to do it. And it's actually quite instructive because usually I forget about things. When I go back and read my notes, it's a way of actually remembering what it is, helping me reflect on it. So when I got into the car racing gig, my brother got me into that. He was like, yeah, Lemons racing, it's like $500. And I was like, $500 divided by 6 people, that's $83. I'll go racing for $83. Little did I know how much it was going to cost later.
He got you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, once I got hooked, it was like, It was very easy to get me hooked. Like the first time I was on track, I was like, yeah, I need to do this.
So we refer to that as the go fast crack pipe. Once you get a hit, it's really hard to put down. But
saw it. Yeah.
The $83, the $500, that's a joke. Like you're supposed to, but nobody gets in for $500. Not for Lemon.
No, not really. But the idea that it would be cheap racing, and it actually, as racing goes, it is pretty cheap. Lemons racing, or whether it's Champ Car or Lucky Dog or whatever, those are cheaper forms of racing than the really expensive forms. But it's never cheap. Racing is never cheap. Anyway, so I started writing stuff down as a way of codifying like what was in my mind, and also just sort of journaling, like what am I doing? And so I made a website to sort of just help me journal along that way. And the You Suck at Racing is actually because I really loved this YouTube series called You Suck at Photoshop, because it was simultaneously entertaining and also educational. And I feel like that's the best kind of entertainment, is edutainment, where you don't realize you're getting educated because you're just having a lot of fun watching it. So I thought, maybe I'll make a website that'll be like that. The articles will be snarky and a little bit entertaining, and maybe people will learn something as I journey on my own, educational journey.
Yeah, you actually have a warning on your website that your critiques are entertainment and not authoritative. And I think that's very important.
Well, I've been doing this for 10 years as an amateur. I'm not a professional. I'm a professional educator, yeah, but not in this particular area. I'm not going to go out and tell everybody like I'm the world expert on something I'm not the world expert on, So I don't mean for people to say, if you take it like I know everything about what I'm talking about, you're taking it the wrong way. But however, I probably have read more books than you. Like whoever
Right.
is looking at my website and they say, hey, does that guy know what he's talking about? I've read a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched a lot of video. I've done a lot of study. I'm a professional studier. That's how I got to be professor. So yeah, I've studied a lot. And, no, I'm not an expert, but I am kind of educated.
I feel, especially for people who want to improve in any of the topics, they have to take that mindset, right? You have to look at everything as being an education. Sure, you could be wrong today. You could change your mind tomorrow. You could be staunchly firm in some position about racing. Tomo doesn't like the word or the phrase trail breaking, and he's really adamant it's a shift in point. You're starting of braking and end of braking, and it doesn't really, trailing doesn't matter, right? So it's a poor description for him, so he refuses to use it. Maybe in 20 years he starts using it. I don't know. We'll see. But it's just, we all are open to it. I started this podcast for the same reason. I don't know anything. I'm not the end all be all. I'm not the pro at any of this stuff. I'm a mid-pack amateur sprint racer, and I want to learn more. And the best way I figured out how to learn more was to just talk to people and have conversations. And so that's what I do. And my opinions will change. I'm only 80 something episodes in. I'm sure I'm going to change my mind on some stuff, right? I will learn. I will adapt. I will become more educated and then put some things together and then change my tune. So, but you got to have the right attitude.
And do 5 of them, then realize how much work it is and give it up. 80? You have made a commitment and you are sticking to it. So congrats on that.
Oh, I appreciate it. I actually didn't start the podcast without having 104 episodes. So I released weekly, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough for 2 years worth. So, and I haven't even used a third of them. So
right. As you get,
people bring me new topics.
Right. Like I didn't think I would make it to 100 posts on my blog, and I'm over 500. So,
oh yes. So you have under the main categories, you have the YSAR, you suck at racing. I guess that's the main page. You have driving, you have racing, you have simming, you have sucking, and you have thinking. And just under simming, you have another 20 something subcategories, which have multiple articles under each one, usually.
Yeah.
I
think if you distilled it down, there's probably only 10 articles and they just keep getting retold in different ways, to be honest.
So for those who haven't come across You Suck at Racing and read it all and digested it all, because I haven't been able to digest it all, I'll be honest. You and your brother Mario, both your websites, the blogging you guys do, I can't consume it all and digest it. But have you found that you've changed your mind or contradicted yourself in any of these articles yet?
I definitely changed my mind on several things. There's a lot of things that I didn't really understand in the beginning, and people would say them, something like slip angle or something like that, and then I would come to have a better understanding of it later. Or things that are happening like at the contact patch when you're talking about tires and stuff like that. There's a lot of really detailed stuff that it takes a while to get into the literature on. And one of the things that I've never gotten into the literature on is aerodynamics. And Mario just loves aerodynamics. Like he's just, boy, my goodness, he loves it. And that's like, I don't know anything about it. That's not part of the literature that I've gone into. I've gone much more into tires than I have into aerodynamics. And also much more into driving. The act of driving is much more important to me than the actual car. Like I don't really care about building. Like you put me in any car, I'll be happy. Just put me on any car and put me on a track, I'll be happy. One of the best cars I've ever driven on track in terms of just like silly grins was a Kia Soul with all season tires on it. Honestly, like what? Yeah, some student, he shows up with a Kia Soul because his dad said like, yeah, you wrecked my BMW one too many times, but I understand that you really like, driving fast, and I understand that you've done some sim racing or whatever. So we're going to take you to the track, and we're going to, get you some actual track instruction. And, in the first session, I took out his Kia Soul and started hooning the hell out of it. And he was just in the other seat going, oh, all right, it's on. And he got out there and started doing the same thing. And we had an absolute blast in the Kia Soul. He was like one of the fastest people on the track. There's Corvettes and all sorts of other stuff. But because he had done a lot of sim racing, and he had an instructor who was telling him, you know what? You already have the muscle memory to it. Just, you're allowed to go faster. You can do it. And I just sort of, instead of instructing him, I just sort of freed him. And it was a blast.
Yeah, oh man, I hope he bought pictures that day to get like some Corvette with their arm out the window and the Kia Soul, that brick with a teeny little motors getting a point by,
Yeah, I think their arms were getting tired.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about the most important drill for intermediate drivers.
Right. So most drivers are intermediate drivers. And so that's the most good you can do for like the whole racing community is for intermediate drivers, because there's so many of them. And because they're at this, like, I kind of consider them like kind of teenagers. Like, some of them are much better in some areas than you would expect, and some people are much worse in some areas than you expect. They're awkward. They're brilliant. They've got some things really wrong, but they're getting some things really right. And if they go down the wrong path, they might get stuck going down the wrong path. So a little guidance at the intermediate stage can be like super important. So the best drill for intermediate drivers is something that I do with every single student who comes to my driving sims. So at UC Davis, weirdly enough, they allow me to teach a class on high performance driving. It's called a first year seminar. And it's like these low stress classes where first years, like freshmen and transfer students, can come to UC Davis and have a de-stress from all the really hardcore classes. And so we just like hang out and talk about cars. But I also have sim racing rigs in my office, which if you saw on the camera right now, you would see behind me. I've got a aluminum extrusion rig, and I've got like, Fanatec and Thrustmaster gear. Like, I have good gear, load cell pedals, that kind of stuff. And I say, you can come and, come to my office and drive. And so there's a sign up. And every weekend people sign up and they come in here. And the first thing I do, as I say, just go drive around the track, learn the track. And it's a really simple track. I use Brands Hatch Indy. And this is, for this particular drill, Brands Indy is like the perfect track for it. And we just use an NA Miata, partly because Miata is the answer, right? Always the answer. But partly because we want to have like a slow, low grip car. You could do a Formula Ford or a Formula V would probably also work well for this drill, but not like a super powerful car. And nothing with any nannies on it. Like, I wanted them to feel the absolute raw, no ABS, no traction control, no stability control experience. They've got to be like feeling what the car is doing completely the whole time. And so I just say the first half an hour, just drive around the track, try to get as fast as you can, like learn the track and learn how to be fast. Some of the people to come to my class to drive, they have no driving experience. Some people are 50 years old and they've been driving for 30 years. I've got other people who are like enthusiasts and other people who are like Formula One watchers. Enthusiasts meaning they already own a Porsche or a BMW or something like that. So I get all levels of different kinds of people coming to my office to drive, and I give them the same drill every time. And the drill is, after they've done their warm-up a half an hour and gone as fast as they can, I say, all right, now I want you to stick it in third gear. We're going to go off the auto shifter if they're on the auto. Stick it in third gear. You're not allowed to touch the third gear shifter anymore. You're going to be in third gear the entire time. Also, you're not allowed to touch the brake pedal. Third gear, no brakes the whole time. And they're like, what? I'm just going to crash. And it's like, no, you're going to learn where to lift, and you're going to be able to see like where you're going around the track, and you're going to learn the limits of that. And 100% of the people go faster in third gear, no brakes, than they do when they're trying to drive as fast as they can. 100%. So you're like, wait a second. How is this possible? Like, you could take, like, some of these people have been doing Gran Turismo for, 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Some of them have sim rigs themselves. And I come in here and I do this drill with them, and they're faster, not using the brakes and not using the gearbox. There are corners, Brands Hatch, second corner is a hairpin corner that is really slow, and you're going to be lugging your way out of that in third gear. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're going to go onto the main straight and you're going to be like bouncing off the rim because you kind of want to be in fourth gear and you're limited to third. However, everybody's faster in third gear than with no brakes than they are in the other ways. And what it comes down to is that most people don't actually understand where speed comes from. They have an idea where speed comes from, and sometimes they're just wrong about it. And sometimes it's a skill issue. So let's break down the third gear no brakes drill to see, like, what is it doing? Well, the first thing it's doing is it's giving you reference points. The first thing you have to do is learn how not to crash. So you got to be like, I'm going to come up to this corner. Where do I lift off the brakes so that I don't crash? Sim racing and also real racing, like reference points are a key to part of like how you get around the track. Like, where do I put the brakes on? Where do I put the gas on? What am I gas off? Like all of those kinds of things. Like obviously we're not doing brakes, but having the reference points in your head is such a critical part of driving, and it forces you to have reference points. All right, the second thing is it simplifies the controls in the cockpit. If you don't have to shift gears and you don't have to put your brakes on, the only thing you really have to think about is like positioning yourself on track optimally. Like, where do I get off the gas and how do I position myself optimally in the corner? And by simplifying the activities in the cockpit, you end up with like a better traction. You're not rocking the car back and forth as you try to brake and whatever stuff like that you're doing. And so you have a much, much higher minimum corner speed. And so even like in turn 2, which is like a heavy braking second gear corner, normally people are still going through that faster in third gear with no brakes because they're doing it smoothly without disrupting the car, and because they can only focus on one thing. I know where to optimize to turn in and do it right. And if you look at people who are driving with the gears and their brakes, their controls are kind of all over the place. So, and another reason that this is that the people go faster is because almost everybody thinks that the way to drive a car is to drive as fast as you can in the corner, jam on the brakes, then jam on the throttle. They think that the engine matters and that the brakes matter and all that matters more than keeping your momentum. And well, especially in a slow car, it's 100% just not true. What really matters is momentum. And so it shifts, like as a person gets faster and faster and they start to solve the puzzle of how do I get faster without doing these things, they end up becoming much, much smoother, and they end up going faster, all of them, faster third gear no brakes than they would if they were using all of the controls. So using this drill, you can sort of classify people into sort of 3 different categories. Like the rank beginners, like you tell them, all right, go back and drive with the gears and the brakes. And the beginners, not just rank beginners, but even low intermediate, can't ever break their third gear no brakes time. They will the third gear no brakes continues to be the fastest way that they can get around the track. Then you have the sort of more middle intermediate types where they put their brakes on and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I'm a tiny bit faster, but it's not really appreciable. But it's only really the advanced drivers in this particular scenario, Brands Hatch, like with the Miata, where you're like a good deal faster. And it's partly because Brands Hatch Indy has uphill braking zones. And so it's quite good for driving without their brakes. But advanced drivers figure out how to do things like, there's certain corners where, like the second corner or something like that, where rotation is hard. And so they'll do things like induce rotation by flicking or something like that. And that, like, there's other things that you can do as an advanced driver to figure out how to really win the drill. And so you can end up going pretty fast, but and those people who figure that out are also the kinds of people who are figuring other things out about the dimensions of the track and such like that when they're driving with the gears and brakes. So it's kind of like this, like very sort of like, are you faster or about the same or slower in the third gear no brakes drill, after you do it. But everybody before you do the drill, it's like the first time you see the drill and you think it's stupid, it's like, and then you realize you're actually faster that way. It's a real eye opener, like shocking to people.
Well, I know instructors in real cars that have told their students, don't get out of third, don't get out of fourth, whatever it is. I guess depending on the car, but they'd use that drill just to slow them down so they learn the reference points. Because
Yeah.
even when you
So-
let them out and you told them learn the track, I bet they were still doing more than 8/10 to get around the track to learn it,
Mhm.
right? Stay in, don't crash.
Yeah.
But they were still moving faster than their reference points, learning reference points. So,
Yeah. Like as a right seat coach, I kind of don't really want people to go as fast as they can. I'd love to have people just limit themselves to third gear. So this drill isn't something I invented. Like the Keith Code Superbike School has been doing this for ages. This is like, they do it all the time. It's an old, but I don't know how many people actually do it as a regular form of training. I do it as a regular form. I do it myself. Like, I'm going to go, I'll do my warm-up laps, and my warm-ups will be third gear, no brakes. And sometimes if I look at the data and I'll say, you know what, third gear brakes, there's certain places on the track where I'm still really good at that. And I'm catching up with my controls as being not smooth enough to be able to beat the mid corner speed in certain places. It's like, it's still instructive for me to do. I mean, I'm not an alien when it comes to sim driving, but I'm pretty good. And the drill is useful still.
yeah, that's interesting. Because obviously they weren't sim racing in the Superbike school. So it applies
right,
over.
but
That's
they
really
were
cool.
doing that drill.
Yeah.
I will bet you, I don't actually know this, but I will bet you Skip Barber did that. You know, Skip Barber schools, they've been doing like Formula Ford training schools back in the old days, probably since the late 70s. And that was like a really important driving school in the US. I'll bet they had a drill like that. I'll bet it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it's, such a good drill to do. It teaches you not only like the dimensions in the track and other stuff. One of the other things it teaches you is how much deceleration you get just by turning your wheels. And so, like, if you think to yourself, oh, one of the things that, here's the danger of the third gear brakes, no brakes drill. If you get really, really, really good at it, okay, and get really fast on it, you're no longer really like trail braking anymore, or brake turning, or whatever the hell you want to call it. You're not necessarily using your brakes to turn your car. And using your brakes to turn your car is sort of an advanced skill that's very useful. And you're not doing that. You're just coasting into the corners. However, that doesn't mean you can't get rotation in your car. You learn how like your steering actually slows you down, and you get transfer of weight just by the deceleration that you get from turning. And so actually you can get some oversteer even in that, even without brake turning, because cornering is a form of deceleration. Also, if you're, depending on the speed of the corner, the gearbox dragging behind you can also, be reducing your grip on your rear tires a little bit. So you do get some deceleration while cornering. So, you were talking at the beginning and talking a little bit, you mentioned trail braking, and some people don't like that term, or I'm okay with that term. But to me, whether you're talking about the aggressive form of trailing or the non-aggressive forms, or just lifting in the middle of the corner, all of those things fit under the umbrella of deceleration while cornering. Like, regardless of how you do it, if you decelerate while cornering and you transfer load to the front tires and remove load from the rear tires, it helps you rotate the corner. That's the same phenomenon for all of those. So I don't know what the right term is. It doesn't really matter what the term it is, but it's, it's some kind of yaw-induced, turning through deceleration. That's the important bit.
It is. You called the Miata a momentum car. And I personally argue that all cars are momentum cars.
Yeah, absolutely. All cars are momentum cars until you drive four-wheel drive cars on dirt. And then you start thinking, maybe not all cars are momentum cars.
Oh, I haven't done that yet.
Then you start to think about, thinking about the digging out of dirt and how important it is not to have like how different it is digging yourself out of dirt. And I'm talking about sim racing. I'm not talking about, I don't drive four-wheel drive cars in dirt in the real world. I have driven on dirt. I've taken a rally course and such. But then you start thinking about how it's not only about momentum. There's actually having four wheels digging yourself in a very powerful engine digging yourself out of dirt. It's not just momentum. There's more to it. But yeah, certainly at the level of the driving that I mostly do, which is, slow cars and 200 treadwear tire type of stuff, every car is a momentum car for sure.
So why do you think sim racing sim racing should be a part of everybody's driving practice.
Yeah. And I feel pretty strongly about this. Sometimes you'll read, like, I used to belong to various groups on Facebook with, instructors and stuff like that. And I don't really instruct
those are
anymore.
dangerous groups.
And they're not right
usually.
Yeah. Yeah. People argue about all sorts of stuff. And somebody will say something about sim racing. They'll be like, yeah, if I can't feel it in my butt dyno, I'm not interested or whatever. And I'm just like, well, you're missing one of the most important parts of training, which is that, when it comes to your performance, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall back on your training, and there's certain types of training you can't do in the real world. Like, nobody's going to let you drive off track, like, intentionally, and then come back on a track, like literally go off track at 100 miles an hour into the grass and come back on track. Nobody's going to allow you to do that. And yet that behavior, when you do it in sim racing, is not terrible. It's not completely authentic, I'm sure, but once you do it and you learn to do it, and that's like, oh yeah, when I'm going off track, I have to zero my steering. If I don't, and I've like this, I call it on track praying. So on track praying is this idea of like, oh, I'm going around a corner and I think I might go off the track. I'm not sure if I'm going to go off the track or not. That's a form of prayer. I was like, I'm hoping I don't go off track. Like, let me tell you, the racing gods don't give a shit. Okay. They're going to make you pay. And you can't hope your way through that situation. And even if you did hope your way through that situation, like, oh my God, I'm coming really close to the edge of the track. I'm just going to hold my steering wheel here, or make it worse by like turning it more, which is the usual thing to do. It's like, I hope I make it. Let's say you make it. It's like, yeah, now you're just going to hope your way through the next one. That's not really how to handle that situation. The way to handle that situation is, all right, there's a 10% chance I'm going to go off track. That's too high for hoping. Instead of hoping your way off track, open your steering wheel up, zero your steering out, actually go off track in control and come back on control. Because if you tried to make it around and you've got a 10% chance, 1 out of 10 of those times you didn't and you crashed and everybody's mad at you because you just went banging off the walls or whatever it is and you ruined everybody's session for the day or closed down the racetrack or whatever the hell you did. So it's like having that, like, I know what to do in this situation, and it's in your muscle memory and in your, like, the front of your brain, like, oh, I'm about to go off track. I've done this like 100 times before in training. I can handle this. That's very different from like hoping your way around a track. And nobody's going to allow you to do some of the kinds of trainings. Like, what happens when you get into an oil slick? How are you going to deal with that? And if you look at like accidents that happen on track, if you go to HPD, like event, right? And you look at the cars that get crashed. How many of those crashes occurred because one car hit another? None. Like almost every track day, like accident is self-inflicted harm from the inability to understand how to recover from oversteer because they haven't done any oversteer recovery. And if they have, it's probably like, more like the drifting kind, or like, I'm going to jam my throttle around a figure 8, and that's how I know how to recover is oversteer. What about the deceleration kind? Like, where are you going to learn that? Where are you going to learn like the sudden, like, side slipping as you go through oil? Well, you can do it all day long in sim racing, and it doesn't cost you anything other than a decent sim rig. So it's a form of disaster training.
People want to talk about the price of a sim rig. I get it. I understand that good ones aren't necessarily cheap. And you can concentrate on computer first and then get your rig, like go from wood to stuff. But go to the body shop one time.
Let's design you a sim rig.
Go to the body shop one time. Tell me.
Like, you said you don't have a sim rig, so let's design one for you right now. So your sim rig, your software should be Assetto Corsa, as everybody should have a Assetto Corsa. Okay. It's got so many cars and so many tracks. Some of them really great, so many mods available for it. It looks gorgeous. It plays beautifully. It's not maybe the best in any one category, but it's really good. And when it's on sale in Steam, it's $4. Okay, so that's your layout for your software. It's $4. It's not a recurring subscription. It's not iRacing. It's not anything else. It's $4. Okay, you can afford the $4. Okay, Next thing is, what kind of computer do you need? A set of course is 10 years old. You don't need a fancy computer. Like, it was designed for computers that are 10 years old. So if you anything with any kind of computer with a dedicated graphics card today is fine. Anything, okay? You don't need, the latest 4 series NVIDIA card or whatever else. If you've got, some anything, even integrated cards would probably work okay if it's a high-end integrated card. It probably would work okay, but let's be real. It's a dedicated video card, anything, cheap ones. Get a 2060, a 4060, whatever it is. You don't have to spend a lot. So there it is. The computer is not going to be very expensive either. You can get $500 on the computer, $4 in the software. That's your layout for the computer. You don't need anything more than that. Do you need triple monitors? Do you need VR? Well, I would say don't get VR unless you've tried somebody's VR rig for a few hours and you didn't vomit afterwards. Okay. If you don't vomit, then VR is not bad, but then you got to spend $1,500 or something on your computer because it takes a lot better graphics card. So I would say don't. I would say just get one wide monitor, like one of these extra wide monitors. That's like 1080 monitors are pretty good. But you get them that are like 50% wider than that, and that will give you it's not a triple screen kind of thing, but it's a lot easier to live with the space requirements for a sim rig when it's just one monitor rather than 3 monitor stands, or having to have a sim rig with 3 monitor stands. Like, leave that for later. All of the sim racing I do is on a single monitor. Yeah, I had a triple monitor at one point in time, and the immersion is amazing. It's a lot better, but in my office, it's all just wide single monitors. Right. They're 2560 by 1080. And those kinds of monitors, not too expensive, a couple $100. You can get one of those. So we're talking about $500 in the computer, $200 in the monitor, $4 in the software. We got 2 more things. We have the controls themselves, pedal and wheel, to think about. And then we have the actual rig itself. Like, do you have to have like an aluminum extrusion rig? No, but you can build them for $300. You can also break out the 2x4 and build a really sturdy wooden sim rig just with your DIY skills. And honestly, I had one that I used for like 8 years that I just made out of like 2x4s and bolted my E30 seat to it. You don't have to have like a super fancy sim rig. It just has to not move anywhere. It's got to be solid. And you can do that with lots of different materials. All right, so the layout there is either free if you've just got some old 2x4s laying around, to maybe $300 if you want to DIY your aluminum sim rig, or if you want to buy one, $600. You don't buy the $1,000 one. Yeah, then you got to talk about what's the wheel and pedal situation. And the amazing thing is how much cheaper the really good gear is getting. Like the Fanatec direct drive stuff is ridiculously well positioned in the market. It's like, or maybe you're using Matza, or maybe you're using like a Matza R9 or whatever it is. But like a Fanatec is a great direct drive wheel. Thrustmaster, the high-end Thrustmasters are still like some kind of double belt drive kind of thing. But honestly, that's what I use. I've got a direct drive behind me, and I've got a belt drive behind me, and I use the Thrustmaster most of the time. Okay, it's actually great. A lot of the drifters use that one too. I've got a TS PC Racer with you can swap different wheels in and out of these things if that's your thing. But the wheel, it's going to cost you, wheel plus pedals is going to cost you somewhere between $600-ish and however much you want to spend, $600 to $1,200. And that will put you in a direct drive wheelbase with a set of pedals that you can either have a load cell in them, or you can put a load cell into them. Like the Fanatec load cell pedal, they have a cheap set of Club Sport something LCs where they give you another pedal and you stick a load cell in it and turn a 2-pedal setup into a 3. And honestly, I use those pedals. I like them a lot. Thrustmaster's got their load cell pedal. Like sometimes they come with some springs that are too spongy, but I just threw some skateboard grommets in it and stiffen it up. But yeah, having a load cell and a stiff brake pedal and having a direct drive wheel or just a really high end belt drive wheel, that's authentic enough to give you really, really good training. It's not the track, but it's like 90% as good as the track. And 90% of the track will still really train your muscle memory very, very well. Like the first time I ever really drove in the rain, like I hadn't really done any driving in the rain. It's in California out here. Like it doesn't rain in California. We don't have many track days in the rain. But the first time I was ever on rain, I was like, oh, I got it. Like I'm faster than everybody in the rain because everybody's scared to drive in the rain. And I didn't know I was good at the rain. I just drive like this always. And it's like, it's been surprising to me many, many times I've been down this road. It's like, I don't understand like why this is all so easy. Well, it's because I spent 1,000 hours sim racing is why it's easy.
The time is cheaper when you start to arm out the investment in your rig and your computer and whatever. You do it if you dedicate yourself to it, which you have to do with anything you practice. Yes. You have to dedicate a certain amount of time to, right? That's important. But as soon as you start arming that out, it's paid for easily in a year, right? You're going to get your money's worth plus some.
But just like with cars, okay, there's like fiddling with this and that, software or hardware that's going to be a damn pain in the ass. And so it's like, yeah, just like you're saying, you're going to have to get into it. And there's going to be, it's not just all like roses. There's going to be stuff like, I don't understand why this piece of software doesn't work with this thing. And I don't know how to tweak my wheel to do this. And the force feedback isn't whatever. It's like, and there's so many things to tweak in the software and the hardware. It's just like, do I really want to get into that? It's like, that's the number one reason why you shouldn't do sim racing is because it's going to complicate your life. But at the end of the day, like I have an article, I think on my blog, which is like, 10 reasons not to sim race, not to get into sim racing. And there's a lot of reasons, but there's also one, it's all trumped by the final reason, which is, there's two reasons. You'll be faster and safer. That's what you get at the end of the day is you get both speed and safety. So it's like, to me, that's worth it.
Yeah. So you're talking, you said $4 for the software, $500 in a computer. Say we go budget $600 for the wheel and pedals, another $600 for the rig because you want that to stick around. So we're at $1,700.
Yeah. I think about 2,000 is what it costs to recreate most decent sim rigs you can ever see. You don't need the motions, you don't need the haptics and other stuff. All that stuff you can add later, and it's great. And it'll help you out. But like the $2,000 sim rig is a great sim rig.
Yeah, and make your wish list and see what happens on, Black Friday somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, literally those
I would troll Facebook Marketplace because I'm cheap. So,
Yeah, well, I did that. I used to do that. I used to go to Craigslist and buy like lots of stuff. And I've owned 4 different Logitech wheels. 5. I've had a Logitech Momo, G25, G27, G29, and DFGT. No, Logitech wheels last forever. They're actually super robust. Their force feedback is crap compared to the other ones, especially in oversteer recovery. But you can learn a lot with a Logitech wheel. It's just that it's sort of like now with how much the prices have come down on the real quality stuff, it's not like the difference. Like people would buy Logitech. It's like, yeah, because I can get in this for $250 for wheels and pedals. And then, I don't want to spend $1,500 on a direct drive and a load cell. Well, they aren't that anymore. Fanatec, you can get a direct drive and a load cell for $600. So,
right.
So like, and you'll be so much happier with the Fanatec. It's like, and it's not just being that it's more authentic. The driving will be more fun because you won't understand why you're crashing all the time when you have the Logitech gear. It's like, I'm doing a set of course and I'm driving around here and it's like, I keep crashing all the time. And you put the better wheel on, you're like, oh, it actually was the equipment. It was a lot harder than it needed to be because I wasn't getting the feedback. And so my muscles weren't able to feel what was happening.
Right.
So don't go to the bottom. Like the really quality gear has come down in price. And so just buy quality.
For sure.
The same thing with cars, right? Like there's a level you shouldn't go below when it comes to car equipment.
Yeah, I'm a buy once, cry once kind of person, generally speaking, but I also like to budget. So, if it's the 95% solution at, 50% off, that's what I'm going with,
I know. I mean, I have a hard time not doing that. That's why I buy tires in pallets. It's like I've done that. Like I've got like, yeah, oh, Maxxis VR1s are on sale. Okay, I'll buy 20.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Serious
I've done it.
business.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
They arrived on a pallet at my house. It's like, cool. Yeah. Because they were 50% off.
Do you have storage space for all that stuff?
Well, it was my garage. It just looked like a tire factory for a while.
Well, for sure. So, do you have any additional reasons sim racing should be part of your real driving practice?
I think that the safety is enough of a reason. That you're getting disaster training, the kinds of training you could never get on a real track. You're getting that. That's, to me, the most important reason. I'm more of like a safety and budget kind of person than I am like, they say that there's that saying with like fast, cheap, and what is it?
Reliable.
Fast, cheap, reliable. Pick two.
Uh-huh.
I'm sort of a pick one kind of person. And for me, it's like safety. If when the other things get balanced into there, it's like safety. Like I don't want to get on a track and crash or something like that. So safety should be enough of a reason by itself to do sim racing. But here's another one. I'll give you one other reason why you should do it, is that in the real world, it's really hard to get data. The thing that you need to, in order to get out of the intermediate sort of, the heady intermediate stage, there is this, Dunning-Kruger effect, which some people will be like negative about. But I think the Dunning-Kruger effect is just, that's how people learn. In the beginning, it just seems like there's a bunch of stuff to learn and you start to become feeling like you're an expert long before you are. And then later on, something happens to cause you to come crashing down to earth. And then you build from that crashing down to earth to actually learning how to do the thing correctly. And the thing that comes crashing a person down to earth is comparing themselves to another driver in the exact same car, in the exact same conditions, and realizing how far you have to go. And in the real world, that's very, very difficult. You can always blame something. Oh, that person's cheating, or that person's on different tires, or, they set their tire pressures differently or whatever. Some part of it that they don't quite understand that they can blame on anything else. But when you get into a sim racing, go do iRacing and go into the rookie ranks, like with the MX-5, where everybody's in a fixed setup car with absolutely 100% identical everything. And go see how fast the people are. And then you will realize how far you have to go. And then it's like, oh my God. But how do you get out of that? Data.
Okay.
Like, you can see how fast other people are, but you won't know why. It's like, oh my God, they're like 5 seconds faster than me. I think they're cheating. It's like, no, buddy, the answer is not that they're cheating. It's that you don't understand the things that you're doing right and the things you're doing wrong. Like some of the things you're doing really right and some of the things you're doing really wrong. And how can you tell the difference? Data. You got to get into looking at the squiggly lines. Like that's the only way to diagnose what's really going wrong with your driving is to dig into the data. And in the real world, good luck. That's like proprietary information. If you want to do it in sim racing, it's free. It's all over the place. And you can get like aliens and people you could never get in the real world. Like you're effectively getting Formula One drivers, their data, and you can compare it to your own and see exactly what you're doing differently in the exact same car under the exact same conditions. And that is worth a heck of a lot when it comes to things like technique. The technique of driving is the same whether you're sim racing or you're racing in the real world, mostly, not 100%. But a lot of the things are very similar. And understanding what your specific failings are when it comes to technique, it's just like, it's a really important thing to do. It's also gutting when you realize like the things that you're really bad at and how hard it is going to take to change those things. But without the data, you'll never know.
True.
And the data's there in the sim world. That's another reason.
And don't compare yourself to Formula One drivers unless you have like really good self-esteem. But
yeah, the thing to do is to compare yourself like to the person who's 1 second faster.
Right.
And so when you're sim racing, like who's 1 second faster? There are 1,000 people who are 1 second faster. There's also another 1,000 that are 2 seconds faster. So you find the people who are 1 second faster, you compare their data with your data, and you learn what's that one next step that you need to take. If you go to the people who are 2 seconds faster, it can be very difficult to understand. But you can look at the 1 seconds faster and take the next step. There's no jumping here. You can't jump to the 3 seconds faster. Everybody's got to go through the same process. Like you got to learn it. You got to break it down. Everybody has the same journey. You don't jump through going faster to this stuff. And I think one of the best books that you can read to get yourself in that mindset is the one by Paul F. Gerard, which is what's it called? Optimum Drive. And like, if I was saying, what one book should you buy? Not my book, buy his book, because it's not just about the instruction. It's the understanding, like what's the mental state that you have to be in to want to get better? It's about truth. It's about root causes. It's about ditching your ego. And like he says it better in that book than I've seen it in any other books.
I'll definitely have to check that out because I need more stuff to read. So
also, it's an audiobook, believe it or not. It's available as an audiobook. It's probably like 6 hours or something. It's not a very long audiobook, but I've actually listened to that audiobook like 3 times, maybe more, because when you're driving to the track, listening to an audiobook about like track driving is it's a fun thing to do.
Well, when I
puts you in the right mindset. Right?
I have a 6-hour commute some days, so it might just be one commute's worth. So we'll see. But yeah,
that's a good commute one too. And the reader at the first, I was like, is this actually the right reader for this? Because I think he said a couple of things wrong, but because he doesn't really quite get some of it. But at the end of the day, actually, he's a pretty good reader. Yeah. And Paul F. Gerard, if you don't know who he is, he used to be the Stig.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know who that was, but yeah. Okay. Was he like the original Stig?
He was like the original one.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. He's been one of, like, they've had several Stigs. He's been one of the Stigs.
Sweet.
So nice guy.
Yeah, and fast. So he's a fast driver, that Stig. Well, all of them have been. So, all right.
Yeah. I still recommend, like, I know that this is the age of everybody doing things to the internet and other stuff, but I still feel like there's a lot of value in getting a book. And if I'm going to recommend I'm going to recommend that as the audiobook, but if I'm going to recommend an old book, get Piero Taruffi's The Technique of Motor Racing, which is from 1951 or something. And then you read that book and you realize nothing has changed.
No,
it's the same. All of it's the same
gas,
instruction.
Brake, 4 wheels, what they do, steering wheel, what you should do. It's very much the same as the driver. We just have to master it.
Right. They don't have trail braking in there. There's no trail braking in that book. But there is deceleration over steer. They don't call it trail braking. And back in those old days when people had like bias ply tires and they had rear engine cars, they were rear wheel drive, it's kind of similar, like reading between the lines. It's the exact same thing as trail braking today.
Oh, I bet, because you have to get all that weight to transfer or move the way you want it to move. So can only imagine there's only a couple ways to do that.
Yeah.
All right, Ian. So everybody can find you at yousuckatracing.com. Definitely check it out. Plethora of knowledge that you've thrown up there. Maybe opinion and knowledge. Some of your articles, I was like, wait, are you missing like half of it? And you have to click to the other portion. But a lot of stuff that I enjoy reading and learning from. If anything, it's your perspective, and then it's Ian's perspective up there, and you can agree to disagree, but you'll be learning something, I promise. So.
Yeah, I would say that you shouldn't believe me or anybody else. Do your own research and experience that learning journey for yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, don't take any authority's version of anything, right? It's like, don't believe anybody's, oh, this so-and-so said this. Find it out for yourself and do the experiments that validate in your brain and get you to really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I could get the idea to try something from you, but I'm still going to try it. It's not set in stone. So awesome.
Yeah. I want to say one more thing, which is some of the things that what I like do experimentally is like when I wonder about some things, that's another great faster front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. Make the exact same car and switch the drivetrain. Done. Would it be better to, if I had a front wheel drive car, would it be better to move, if I had add extra weight in the rear to make it a little bit, balance the traction out a little bit more, the front to rear, or would that be mitigated by a reason to have a sim rig? It's like, you can say, what's just like having extra, weight to move around. You can do it. Did it. Like every experiment you want to do, you can do it. So it's kind of fun that way too, if you're an experimentalist like myself.
We did corner weights on my old car, and I think we got it to 55-45 in a front wheel drive car, and it was miserable. So don't do it.
Depends on the shape of the track. Yeah.
Okay.
It can depend on the shape of the track.
I primarily run at Summit Point and Virginia International Raceway, and it was miserable. So I couldn't get the car to turn. Too much weight to overcome in the back. So anyway, well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I'm sure I will bug you again because I haven't really broken through most of your website. So I need to digest it, and then we can talk again in the future.
Happy to return anytime.
I appreciate it, man.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.